something out of this. That's a good idea.
Yeah, right. That'd be dope. But yeah, so everybody that is joining in with us, this is episode 3.
It is.
So
Hopefully.
fingers crossed. But yeah, tonight we have a super special guest for y'all. Y'all are going to see it in the headlines. We have Mr. Yaya Bouchez, the Leopard King, 7-second fastest point in NXL history, and just a core being of the Houston Heat Foundation. I'm actually really excited. I was really bummed at first when I heard he retired, and I was excited to have him on the podcast. But at the same time, I think this is we're going to get to do something really awesome because he's starting a new chapter in his life, and we get to talk to him about all that stuff. And I think there's going to be a lot of reminiscing and a lot of really, really interesting conversations to come. So, yeah, we're really excited. Ryan, you have anything?
No, man, I'm pumped. I mean, been my friend for a long time, teammates for a long time, and just excited to get this conversation going.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's gonna
What are you
be
drinking
great.
tonight?
Called Keegan.
Oh, nice.
It's that. Yeah, it's the apple brandy. Finished. So, what are you drinking on?
Oh, I'm just having a little espresso right now.
Oh, a little pick me up.
A little pick me up. A little later here. So, do you already send him the invitation then?
I'm about to rock it right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's get the man in here.
Let's get him in here.
He's wasting too many words without him here,
That is it exactly.
Actually, we might have to get him in now. We all know he's a talker.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be. I have a feeling this is going to be a riot tonight.
I think so.
So.
Yeah, but it's definitely weird, being on a team without him right now. Not in a bad way or anything, but having played with him since 2014, pretty much, probably hundreds of tournaments. It's still nice seeing him at the events. I'm sure he'll talk about his new career path, but he's working with the 5 paintball right now. Yeah, and I'm sure we're gonna get into a lot of that, but still good seeing him at events. He's still happy. I do wonder if that itch is gonna come back and he's gonna jump back in the league at some point in time. But if this was his time to go out, he went out with a bang. He's had a pretty long, illustrious career.
Yeah, and I mean, no complaints, right? But it'd be kind of crazy to see him pop out of retirement. I don't know if that'll happen though.
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but once he gets used to this new job and stuff, if he can find the time, I mean, I see a lot of people, once you, like I said, and before, it's like the competition, like once you're out of it, you do miss it.
You do 100%. Man, that's been kind of everything that I've done. You hang it up, you put it in the closet, and you're just like skydiving. Jeez, like skydiving. I'm always like, man, I could start jumping.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, so when you were done with that, it was
yeah, skydiving, I didn't miss it first. And then these past few years, I've just been like, man.
I'm sure that's kind of how it always is. The break at first is like needed, but then the break, when you realize the break is more than a break, that's when it gets tough.
Yeah, I mean, I could go back into it, but I put more money into traveling.
Not with the same vigor and energy and time and everything that you had in it before,
Right. So, yeah. There he is. Let's get him in here.
Oh, hang on. Let me switch this.
Oh, man. Everyone, I'd like to introduce my, longtime teammate for over a decade, longer time friend, fastest man in paintball, Chad, Yaya, Bouchez,
That's me.
Verified 7-second point, start to finish, from base to base. He's done a lot, but the biggest thing he is for me as a friend, a teammate, and another paintball ambassador. He's just brings happiness and joy. You know, you look at him, he's always got a smile on his face, and super excited to sit down with him and have a good conversation with him, because I miss having him around in real life. Not that you've gone anywhere.
That was a good introduction. I almost got goosebumps. I'm all scaly, you can see.
You got that chicken skin, boy.
Well, you see, watching you guys in Tampa, I got like all dehydrated and I got burned up from the sun. And then going out and golfing all the time now, it gets a little crazy.
So what was it like? We'll jump right into it. What was it like being at your first event that you were healthy, not playing?
It was nice to leave the event. My body didn't hurt. I was proud of your guys' performance, and a lot of people asked me. They said, "Hey, does it bother you that you're not playing or anything else?" And it really doesn't, just because I knew that like for the reasons that I was like not like a part of the team anymore, I was okay with, and I've accepted it. So I was just like, like it is what it is, and just kind of like I look around my room and I got all these trophies that like we won together. And it's
I was gonna say you're not leaving the sport for one, but you're also not leaving the competitive side of it without accomplishing your goals.
Yeah, and
you started a team that became the best team in the world for a long time. Won 3 World Cup championships. You've traveled the world, winning in pretty much every country that we've played in. You've made really good friends, and you've been such a competitor and a teammate for so long that you're not leaving it still wondering like, what if, Now, I do think like, and you're pursuing other goals. I'm sure there'll be a time where you're like, man, I miss the competition side of things, but in my books, you're still young, so you could always hop back in if you want to.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me too is just like how much fun, and like you look back and like the first day I announced it, I was emotional. And then the biggest thing too is like just everybody that just how much love and support everybody gave me. I was just like, like I don't know very many people that get that much love and support. So I just I actually had to pinch myself to make sure I was still alive. I was like,
I was going to say not too many while they're alive. You hear a lot of it after people pass, but it's good.
I said, well, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's good to be able to get some of that when you're still, you're getting it because you were so appreciated, and people want to give that back to you and make sure that it's known.
100%.
And what's cool about that is all the support you've gotten. Not many people get to see their legend live. Most of the time their legend is brought up when people are just actually gone, right? And it's really cool that you get to see your legend and, Heat, which you were a huge foundation for, since the beginning, and you get to see that grow too. And it's a lot of your doing.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, did my audio just change on you guys?
Yeah, it's fine. That still sounds good.
Good.
It just got a little loud.
Okay. I think the biggest thing is, there it goes. Building this team, and like I was telling somebody before, Houston Heat was truly like nobody knew what it was going to be. I knew that like the expectations that we had and everything else, like, and I remember
you put the right people together, though. It's like, if you asked anyone who is in the know, you could look around and be like, those are all pedigreed players that most have played together, know how to win, and a group of young, hungry people that wanted to, bolster that. I think from the beginning, like I wasn't a part of Heat at the beginning, but I looked at it and I knew it was going to be a strong team. That doesn't mean that you don't have to have the hard work and still dedication for it. But
yeah, and the thing is, people don't realize is I think a lot of people in the paintball world got lucky that Philly wasn't a team anymore, right? Because I would have never got to play with Tim or Sam or Sundabillis on Aftershock, because that was part of us getting Tim was Sun and Sam came with him, and it was awesome because like those guys, like all three of them, like we all gelled really well. And then you went to Impact and you won the first event with Impact, and that was a wild one. So it's like, I think that was their first X-Ball tournament it was
their first professional win. Yeah. So I was their first American player that joined the team and, got the win in the very first time playing with them. So that was a great experience. And that tournament was pretty wild too. There was some issues going on back home in Canada. We didn't have
they had left, right? Because they thought they were out of the tournament.
Well, yeah, we didn't have a great prelims, and we knew we were on the edge, and they had to get back for, a kind of urgent matter that's internal. But we find out we made it. They got back in time to play the next morning with us. And we went through a pretty hard string of games on Sunday to win that tournament. And it was cool going from Philly, which I thought we were just hitting our stride. I think if that team could have stayed together, we could have been a dynasty for quite a while. And we still have some of the best players like in today's game, playing on some of the top teams. So it's like it was a good team, but I'm happy to see that everyone found success elsewhere. Some people got back together, but found success and continued to do what their dream was.
Yeah, I'll say this too is, the team that really benefited. I mean, obviously with with Houston, I had a lot of guidance from Tim, right? Like as we're building the team, I remember him pulling me aside about Chad George because at the time he was with Dynasty, and he's like, "Hey man, Chad will be available for X Ball because he's going to play."
He was actually, I already had brought him over for Impact, but the situation was that was when Bart was the owner of the MPPL, and Dave and them kind of iced us out of playing X Ball, said we couldn't because he was an owner. So then you're like, oh, well, Chad could just play X Ball with us,
Yeah, and honestly, Adam Garner was like, because Chad and Adam were so close from Philly, he let him shoot at the time in Eclipse Gun on an all DLX team, right? Like a Lux team, which
still
is
one of my favorite. Still one of my favorite stories. Sam always tells it, but on PB Nation, there's a thread about Chad playing with you guys, and someone's like, "Oh, why's Chad using a Geo?" Someone else was like, "Well, Luxes are pretty expensive. He probably can't afford it."
Oh boy. That's funny. That is too funny. So,
but yeah, so I did think it was cool. Like, when I got my chance to come back on Heat or to come on Heat, like it was a rejoining of a lot of Philly guys. And at that point in time, me and you had been friends for quite some
long time.
I think really from that first weekend.
4 years?
Yeah. From that first weekend we met, we really hit it off. So.
Oh, dude, we got a bar fight. It was awesome.
Why does that not surprise me from either of you? But
the next day, we wake up, we win the tournament. It was the New York
Expo
League, I think it was. Nah, we don't need to tell the whole story. Some things.
Well, no, I'm just saying like how dehydrated I got. So Ryan's really good at racing and like what was it? Well, Cruising USA.
Yeah, we were playing some racing games. It wasn't Cruising the USA because you could like upgrade it. You could put like NOS on it. Under lights, things like that. And we were playing a game. Basically, we were in the bar. You had to finish your beer before your race was done. Or no, the loser had to chug it. One of the two. I don't remember. But I was just dominating on him the entire time. And I was just putting like stickers on my car and like glowing things. And he's just upgrading his as much as he can and just getting dusted.
Okay, if I could have paid for everything with nitrogen, I would have, but didn't matter. He was just dusting me with stickers, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And then I had to keep drinking these beers. But we went and played this tournament the next day, and in Syracuse, New York, and it was a cool setup because it was a Quaker State, this field, blue turf, and then they had a hotel like right there. Like it's a perfect scenario for any tournament or team that ever wants to play there, right? And we went and played this tournament, and we ended up winning. But there was a few funny moments where, like, Ryan was playing behind me, and he tells me to go, and I look back at him, and I'm like, I can't go. Like, my legs are cramping because I was so dehydrated. And
he just looked at me like a sad puppy dog, though. I don't
know. He threw a pot at me, and I'm like, I can't go, dude.
Yeah,
like, I can't.
I was like, move.
Yeah.
So we got a little rowdy during that event, but we had a good time. We won it. Sam was playing with us. Tim was playing with us. We were playing with a good group of dudes from New York. But after the event, we went to Quaker State. We're, getting some wings, getting some water, trying to rehydrate. And all of a sudden I look over and he is just looks like he got out of a pool.
As we were sitting down,
bullets.
Yeah, as we were sitting down, I'm like, I go to sit down and I'm like, oh, I got to wash my hands. So I go to like literally like halfway sit down and get up, and all of a sudden my legs go and they are stuck forward. And
he's in a chair
like
at the table.
One in this whole situation.
He's in a chair in the table next to us because he couldn't straighten his legs out. So I'm like pushing into these knots, trying to rub them out and stuff. And he's just red as his tomato, dripping sweat, like he's just
profusely sweating.
Yeah, completely saturated. And the waitress comes over. She's like, "Hey, you actually can't sit on this table." He's like, "I can't move my legs."
Yeah, I was crazy because I'm like, "Lady, like, what do you want me to do?" And she just didn't have any. She didn't understand the situation or how much alcohol I'd taken in, but it worked out.
It worked out.
But from that day on, like we were really good friends right away. And then eventually,
yeah.
you know, you move into Pittsburgh, definitely was cool. Living, always hanging out, you know, spending a lot of time together, getting to know each other. Those are the thing about sometimes people don't understand about what makes a team tick. But like genuinely knowing your dudes and loving your dudes and like being there through thick and thin, through good and bad, you know, really knowing their true selves and being able to work with that and push them to be better and get pushed to be better yourself. And, you know,
I feel like you guys learned that
sometimes
on Philly too. Like how you did that on Philly is exactly. And then I think that's really what helped like the paintball scene to be like, listen, like these guys have a house, like they had the Philly house. And it was just like, how much like everybody was together and the boys. And yeah, everybody wants to win all the time, but it's like win or lose. Like they,
and
like
it,
you said, you knew
and it's
exactly
a little different now because it's like, you know, a lot of the top players have played for so long, have been playing with each other for so long or against each other. Even it's more friendship now, but back then it was still super tribal, you know, that you had true like hate rivalries. When you hated a team, you hated every person on that team. You like, it wasn't like the friendliness that there is now, you know?
Well, and 100% on that. And here's something I can actually add to that is you got to think about this. Like how when you come to the team and you see like, okay, like, you know, I'll just use Tampa Damage as a perfect example. They don't really play other pro teams at this current time, right? But what they do is they play a top tier semi-pro team. But how many other leagues do you know of? And I think, Ryan, we've talked about this in the past that play other pro teams like before they will get ready or anything else. And it's like, they really don't. They have their G League team or whatever it may be. But if so many,
I think it's a little different for us because it's not like we're trying to learn our skill set doing it, right? That's when you don't need to practice a pro team, but we have like a crash course to learn a layout. Right?
Correct.
So I think it's different. I think probably, you know, if people are trying to race and learn a racetrack, they're going to want to do it with other really good drivers.
Yeah.
Or else you're not going to get the flow of that. And that's more similar because, you know, you're learning the exact track and we're trying to learn a field layout. We're not trying to like improve our skills. Like we're not trying to improve our blocking and do this. That's kind of our own time. And it helps to do it, you know, as a team because you grow better communication, better nonverbal communication and all of those things.
Yeah.
But
100%.
But it's still, I think we still need to scrimmage, you know, the best teams you can and not always the same one because you want to know what everyone might throw at you on this particular layout at an event, right? And if you only practice one team that has one style, you get to those events and you maybe don't have any struggles in the prelims. Then you get to the finals and now you're playing a team with a completely different style that you're not even used to playing against. So I think there is a benefit to playing multiple teams and to playing the best teams that you can.
And to add to that, I think that's something people don't take into consideration. A lot of times too, and I've noticed this in the past, you start to play a layout fast when you're on turf. But then, and obviously with Heat being on turf right now in Houston and everything else, or even in San Antonio with X Factor, Damage now has gone to turf. And I thought this is actually why Damage played so conservative in the past because of the ground they played on. But when you go to the events, you see it slow down. But I get it slows down mentally, but there's a lot of things you don't get to get away with on the grass as you do the turf. I like playing on both.
I slightly disagree with that because I honestly believe that like I'm faster on grass because I know how my slide's going to be. It's predictable, but more than that, it's my get off, right? My first step. I need to be able to have that traction. And on turf, a lot of times you slip that first step or you can't dig in, you can't push off 100%. So I think turf's a little slower. Now your slides are a little longer. Yeah, like you said, maybe it over playing on like, you know, trenchy sand fields and stuff. Yeah, you're going to be feeling a little better after it. But the big difference is, you know, we don't practice with full ref squads, right? So when people practice aggressively, like we'll look at the Tampa layout.
Yeah.
If you went wide on the break, you could win those games really fast. And in practice, there's not refs. So, you know,
never know.
Those pack hits are getting missed. People are sliding off leg hits, things like that. Not saying all the time, but it happens enough. And if you're not like true with like your coaches and things like that, and no one knows, now everyone's playing a little more aggressively. So is that the turf or is that just a byproduct of practice?
Yeah.
Where everyone is trying to earn reps. Everyone's trying to figure out and assert their dominance on a field, especially when you're playing another pro team that you might see in the next week. You know, so you're trying to prove your self-worth, get playing time. There aren't any refs. You're using worse paint usually, at least like not as brittle, right? So there's more bounces.
You guys didn't get top tier paint for practice?
We actually did. This was
I
some
was
of the
gonna
best
say, I don't
practice
want
paint
things to be
we've had.
slipping over there.
No. Things aren't slipping. I mean, I will give Ronnie a ton of credit. You know, he took over your role for
I love that.
HK, dealing it with the team, and he's done a great job with that. But
love that.
obviously, not having you there for that and having someone on the inside, and I know how hard you worked for them, which is what made Defy see you in the long run, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, it's not too bad. But how I was going to just bring up, you've been at a lot of these practices now. Like, what's your thought on a lot of this? Like, as you know, you get to see like how he moves and like you know how everything goes. And I know you've been around for a while, but like with events, but being in a lot of these practices, you've done a good job with the social media part.
Thank you.
And then you know, I love the fact that like if I need to go and be like, hey, what are the boys doing today? Boop, 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 right there. You guys are doing something. You're on the move, or you know, you're at practice, or you know, it's motivating because it's like, okay, cool. Like these guys, you know, they're out there and they're kicking and screaming and they're making noise, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, and it's good because I think our team was always too shut off from the public, more than it should have been. You know, like we had a big fan base, but we should be giving more back and letting them see the inside part of us, whether they like us or not. You know, some will leave and we'll get some more. That's fine. But it's good to know the inner workings of a team. And, you know, our guys have always worked hard, but, you know, it wasn't always evident. And so people were only seeing based on the results. And that's good too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think, you know, being more active on social media as a team, obviously losing the players we did last year, ton of talent, but you get new guys in that are young and hungry. It motivates them and motivates the guys who have been around, knowing that we have more to prove. You know, I think a lot of people counted us out. You know, we end up, in my opinion, a disappointing fifth place, you know, same position we were in from the years before, but we were very competitive in it. And I saw us playing at like, you know, 60% of what we even could have been doing at that event after only 12 days. Our communication's already good. And I think we have a good group of people that are holding each other accountable now. So I'm sad talking to you about this because I do think if you were here, you would just, I'm just saying, like, I think if you were here, you would just add to that. And, you know, our team wasn't like that as much as it should have been over the last couple of years. So I would have liked you to see like it working great again the way you built it to work in the first place.
Yeah, but being able to watch and like see from like when I try to commentary you guys' games, it was cool because like I know exactly like what the team's capable of doing, right? And it was cool like watching how you guys played the Russians, and I thought that match was completely your guys' match. I did think that there was different obviously options, but when you're on the go or when you're doing your scouting report and everything else, you know, sometimes you see it differently. But I thought you guys played a really tough match, and I don't think the paintball world thought it was going to be the way it went, right? And
I agree completely, and I think obviously that motivated a lot of our guys, but our guys are self-motivated too, and I don't even think we're seeing anyone on the team playing to their potential. You know, like normally you see Soap in an active middle like that, he's going to be a more active player. Our snake side's going to be even better. Our Dorito side's going to keep getting better. I think we did a great job of shooting people off the break this time with multiple different people. If we can continue doing that, you know, I really like the position our team's in. And I said this to people internally and stuff, but I honestly believe that Mishka's going to have a career year now, which is crazy at his age. I mean, I think he's playing better and more free now than
I wasn't going to bring up his age, but yeah.
I mean, I'm old too, so I can do it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with old. If you're willing to keep doing it and your body can handle it and it's still what you desire and you find a way to make it work, like the age isn't really an issue for everyone.
I'll say this: the combination of people that people don't understand or haven't got to see is Ryan Moorhead in front of Mishka, right? Yeah. Like it's always like you do well when you play in the front, but when you have a gun like Mishka behind you, and then how you guys play together. It only gets better from there. I saw it in 2014 in West Virginia one time, and I was like, this is such a powerful.
Yeah, we didn't really on our team. I even talked to Mishka about this. I was like, man, we haven't played together as much as we should.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's a good combo. And I think that, you know, putting you guys together is a great thing. And I think that, you know, Ronnie did a really good job on the snake side. I think that he definitely could have used Chad. What's the new guy's name? Andy.
Andy. Yep.
I know the other three kids.
Andy. Yeah. Andy.
Those other three guys, they kind of slipped away from the new guy term after the other new guy came in.
That's so nice.
That's right.
They only had to last a couple practices.
They're not the FNG anymore.
And I think that those guys will only get better as they grow. I
Yeah.
think obviously being with Houston Heat, you know, I think that it's real positive. So it's good. And another team that actually surprised me, even when you guys played them in the prelims, was Dynasty. I did not think that Dynasty would play the way that they did. I don't think they saw their full potential until Sunday. I thought Mike Bianca actually screwed up by putting in one of the lines that he had compared to like what was working with Ryan and Yosh and Arturo, those guys. But maybe he had to give those guys a break. And then I think
going into the year, I mean, I think most people didn't expect me at second, but personally going into the year, I still thought they were going to be a really good team.
Yeah, you've seen them.
You know, they lost
lost
a lot of good pieces, but they still have such a solid base. And I think Blake Yarber is one of my favorite players to watch. And I think he was criminally underused on Dynasty in the last decade. So I know that he was going to be basically getting a starting role. And I think sometimes it's like coaches look at a player like him. He's a little untraditional, a little sloppy with the way he moves. Like kind of like he reminds me a lot of me about like those kind of things. You don't necessarily do things the way you're supposed to do it, but you do it the way your body tells you to do it. And I think sometimes a player like that, depending on the coach, will look at that and be like, well, he failed here, but it's like, well, those other 4 times he's like winning you those points. So you have to accept. Yeah. So if you're only like spot playing him, yeah, that could be an issue. But if he's getting every rep, he's going to win you way more points than you lose. So I knew just him starting and getting that starting role was going to be huge for their team.
With Blake?
Yes, Blake.
Yeah. Well, they actually had Yosh playing before him, and Blake came off the bench in the Tampa Bay Damage game.
Yeah, I was just saying what my interpretation was going into the year.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. They did start with the 2 lines.
And I'll be honest with you, like when I was still in the mix with everything, Blake was one of the people I called. And it like we've talked to Blake in the past, and I think Blake does a good job of, you know, he's happy where he is. He's not one of those guys that's always searching in the off season type of thing, right?
Those are the kind of players you have to appreciate even more.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
And what I love about him is he's you know, well, maybe the nicest jovial guy off the field, but on the field, he wants to kill people and slit their throat and
you know,
he used to,
and I love that have that violent side.
I like.
You remember when he had that story that he told us that his neighbor freaked out?
Oh yeah.
And then I think that's when he's like, "Man, I just beat somebody up," and this guy came at him, like attacked him, so he had to hit him. And I think he was like, I think it turned his head a little differently, but man, it really put it into him. Like, I got the fire in paintball. And I remember when we played him 2 years ago in Dallas, or maybe it was a year ago, and we're going to play him in the finals, and he's just ramping up, and I'm like, did somebody give this guy something? But I like it when players do that too, though, right? Like as they get amped and how they do that. And
I don't care if like how they outwardly show it, but you can see in people's demeanor when they're on the field, just like that just their little mannerisms and stuff. When someone's confident and cocky and a little bit plays with that, just a little chip on their shoulder, but also just like it's like a screw everyone attitude, you know?
Yeah. Because you especially, you had to come from this, like, you know, growing up with Philly and everything else, like it was constantly like you're playing with grown ass men. So it's like you had to have, I mean, you had to deal with Frank Connell for a long time. Yeah. It's like, but at the same time, what did it do? It taught you so much on like how to be in today's level of the game, right? So it's like, and it's like, I remember you used to talk to Aaron Tholey about it. It wasn't like Aaron was with you guys that long, but he just truly envied on how you guys did things and, you know, how you literally carried yourself or the chip you had to have. And it was just like, he really, truly kind of like put it in my head, like, hey, these guys are the fucking, like, they're the serious, like they're serious as shit.
And that's what that's when people cycle in and out. You'll see someone for like a year or two and not come, but the people that can like last for a long time in those systems, the reason they can still stick around is because it's that attitude. They brought it from someone else. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're born with that attitude or you're not. And I think everyone that develops into like a true winner has that in them. And everyone that like fails in that, I'm not saying they don't have it, but like you definitely don't have it if you don't get it.
It doesn't shine as much.
Yeah.
How kind of bringing something to like where you've been in life and everything else, like you kind of see it with like, you know, your background of just you're such a nice person, but people don't ever get to see Hal turn it on type of thing, right?
Yeah. And that's one of those things. People have their warrior side, right? And you reserve those moments for when you need those moments. And then you get to be, when you don't have to be that, you get to be, what's really cool is you get to be that person that is just the most kind, caring, you love life, and you really shine. And that's kind of like what y'all are talking about with Blake. It's like both of y'all. Like when y'all stepped on the field, you are a menace, right? Like you are the person they're trying to get off the field because they know you're a weapon.
Just smiling and giggling the whole time under our mask, though, because it's fun. What we do is fun.
Yeah, and so that's really cool. But yeah, you know, I think everyone has that capable side, but they have to find that warrior side to bring it out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Yaya is one of the easiest teammates ever to play with on a field because he just wants to do it. He wants to do it all, but he's such a good listener, like he's willing to take on a role and a job. So like when I was on the field, like my voice doesn't carry that well and things like that, but I felt like you always heard me and you reacted really quick to what other people were telling because you played selflessly. I think, you don't always get the glory when you do that, but you did do always what the other people around you needed.
Yeah, and sometimes that becomes difficult, right? Because you're trying to do so many different roles. It's hard to master something, right?
And you could have multiple people telling you to do different things, and like, who am I listening to?
Yeah. And I'll say this though, the thing you got to look at with Houston Heat, right? Like especially over the past 10 years, there's been so much talent on that team. Like there was, like talent wise, if I wouldn't have done things outside of like helping build that team, nobody would ever even looked at me to be on that team. But at the same time, like I found out like a niche that I could help bring to the team, with Randy and Sam's help as well. Of really, okay, hey, if I'm going to do this for the team, I'm going to do it 110%. And it's kind of where you have to swallow your pride at the door and be the best teammate you can be, because if you do that, then it really works itself out, because it's not like I can do something better than somebody. It's just being supportive and being like, hey, whatever I can do to help the team win, it's either I stand right here or I literally go out on the field and I go through on a W situation or anything else. Because I remember when the W came, like it wasn't even like I wanted to play the W. It was just the fact that like Sergey just like he should have been the guy for it, because he could see through the windows. He's good at gun battling, and he just didn't like going up there as much, or he just saw himself doing other things. So it gave me an opportunity to play, and it worked out a couple of different times where we won championships with it. Right.
Yep. And touching on what you were saying, it's like, you just want to do whatever you can to help the team win. But that's like when you're actually someone's teammate, that's when you get to see if they just say that or if they actually live by that. Right. And there's so many, I've had like a lot of phenomenal players as teammates, and some of them have been also great teammates, and some have been pretty horrible teammates. And but I'm saying like that, I'm just saying across 23 years of playing pro, you're going to have some good players that aren't good teammates. Right.
Yeah.
But when you're actually next to those people, you really learn like who are the guys that would do anything and have your back. And I think those are the guys that form great teams, because it's like, if you have full trust in everyone around you, you're going to succeed because you're all willing to do whatever you need to do for the next person.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's something where I can even take it into my job now. It's like, I try to explain this. I said this to Todd this last week. Like we're going back and forth about something. I'm like, hey, we're still a team here. So no matter what, whoever takes it or handles it or whatever it may be, like we're still a team. Like we're still representing ourselves all as one. And he's like, you're right. So
I guess before we get more about Houston Heat, like what is your official job title at Defy? And like, just give us a little background of like what made you decide to make that move. I think it was a great move for your life and your situation, but just give us a quick rundown,
So, I started a year ago, obviously doing things with HK because they take care of me for a long time with, and I couldn't be more thankful. I was their sponsorship coordinator. When I showed up to the party, it was, hey, let's see what you can run with. Like, go find us teams. We haven't had new teams in X amount of time. And I was just sitting there, just working my butt off. And then, my contract came up. It ended. We didn't come to an agreement as far as numbers go, which is fine. That's going to happen.
Yeah, that's business.
100%. And I felt that, they'd done everything in their power, like for me from past that moment. So I owed them like the time period, the opportunity to either, work it out with the contract. If not, then it is what it is. And,
and no matter what, it's like that time with them, like, proved your worth as a salesman. And it's something you're always good. You're such a good salesman. You're a hard worker. I always said, like, if you weren't a professional paintball player, you should have been an agent, and you would have definitely been my agent, because you're fun to talk to, you're relatable, and you put in the effort to do it. So,
well, a lot of it too is you just have to see the value in the person, or, like if like for example, as an agent, like I would see the value in exactly what you could do for teams that don't have that, right? And that's a lot of teams don't have exactly what you have to offer, but that's where I would start. And you just have to see the value in the product. For me, it was fine. I got it. Like I took it across the chin. It did hurt a little bit that we didn't come down to a number, but at the same time, like I love those guys. I talked to a couple of them, even Tampa. It was fine. And I mean, it's business, right? And, Defy, I truly love like every single day when I wake up and I get to sit behind my computer. I get to call, David and Rob and Todd. And, I talk to, like, I have Al Fernandez. Like I deal with him a lot. And like, it's just a good time because the fact that like we're trying to accomplish something as far as, we want to put our flag down on the moon.
Yeah.
The biggest thing they didn't have at the time was, they had Todd going to bat all the time, trying to like spread the word, but like nobody truly like that vocal to go out there and, just wave the flag and be like, hey, here we are. And we're fucking coming. Right. And
that's what I think is really cool for you is you're getting in not the ground floor, but you're getting in with so much room to really use your skill set to blow this company up.
And I'll say this, like HK has taught me a lot inside and out. And it wasn't like I was in the office every single day, but at the same time, they taught me so much on their marketing side and everything else of like, hey, we need to go to this level. We need to hold ourselves to this level. So when I came here, it was something I could bring with me to be like, hey, I want to add this, this, and this. And all I've gotten is full support. Like literally, like other than being like, hey, it's customers over everybody else. We'll deal with it internally, like whatever it may be. And then, the quality of the product is like, we have to have good quality products because that's what's going to help carry our name. And our biggest thing right now is it truly is picking itself up because, everybody, there's a lot of people in the industry. And like, if you look at it with, GI, Valken, you got ProShar, like they all are trying to do the same thing, but we're this little old company that now is trying to break down the floor. And every single day it's a new situation where I truly am like, okay, like here, we saw a mistake here. We can be better here. And it's like, they're so receptive to the fact that like, they're just supportive, right? They're like,
so
hey,
what's your job title there?
So I came on as a national sales director. So like I have a team of sales guys and everything else. Or, we're actually looking for a new sponsorship coordinator. As of now, I'm handling all of that, which is obviously it's not a different role than what I did with HK, but I'm the sales director. So I have just a sales team below me. And then I have
to spread your time a little thinner. So you need someone to be full time with the customers, give them the best relationships they can have.
Yep. And then the biggest guide too is like, and I'm very, very picky with it right now. It's just bringing on people who it's kind of hard because you got to find people who are honest, who can sell, who know the industry, and who hasn't pissed somebody off somewhere. Right. Like there's a lot of guys that have been in this industry, but they have, skeletons somewhere. And it's like, all right, like we got to figure this out. And which that's something that we're in the hunt for is, looking for a sponsorship coordinator or even a guy that can even sell because we obviously still have a lot of room and a lot of ground to cover. So I love every second of it just because the fact that like, I think that, like I was literally just having a conversation with a couple of teams today and they're like, dude, the paint that you got us at our field, like it was night and day because it's cold in a lot of places still. Right. And a lot of people don't make a high quality winter ball or they're cutting corners and they don't want to spend time on a winter ball right now because we're ending the season. Well, we still obviously have that available. So if we can help people out, we're happy with it and it works itself out. So
yeah, I just think it's really important. Like, sponsorship, not sponsorship. A lot of companies are doing a really good job with products right now, paint included, but the more competition, the better. It's like that in sports. It's like that in business, right?
Well, it makes everybody have a quality product.
Exactly. And that only behooves the customer base, right? And that's what we 100%. Want. And some companies are going to get upset about that because then, they have to put a little more into it. But that constant push, it works in the gun side of thing and the paint side of thing. But you need that constant push and always a new guy coming in to push the people like farther, the other businesses from not slacking, from not resting on their laurels. So I think it's great for paintball as a whole to have more competition and especially for the customers. And it really, boils down to the same situation on a team, right? Like our team is going to try to improve and be better because we have new guys coming in and pushing us.
Yeah. And especially with young guys, right? Everybody wants to say that everybody's old, but it's like, I mean, like, look at you.
I'm young at heart, baby.
Yeah. And it's just like it's small things like that, right? But and that, like you said, it just goes with that. And my biggest thing too is like if we can have a quality product and we make sure the customer service there, then it's like, okay, what's next? The marketing has to step up. We have to let the world know that we have all that, right? We have to brand it to hold it to that higher level if we're gonna have that high of a quality of a ball, right? So we can't sell ourselves short, but at the same time, like we know what we're worth. We just have to make sure we let everybody else know that, and we have to show it with our branding, things like that.
Yeah.
So
And you're a great business guy. You're a great corporate guy, a great salesman, but what really benefits them is your knowledge of paintball too, right? You've played for so long across all these other continents, you use every brand of paint there's been, you know what a good quality product is, you know what people are looking for, you know, you've networked with people all around. And that's like kind of an undersold value that you bring is just the innate knowledge and, you know,
yeah,
mindset to expose them.
it's networking and relationships, right? That you have to have for a lot of people, and something
But
I
what
think
I'm saying is you have those network and relationships as well as the actual product knowledge.
yes, and I got it from people like you, right? Like you've been in the industry for so long, and like you've worked, like people don't understand like what you're capable of doing as far as like, you know, you're not just a guy that like just works at a gun company. You're a guy that knows how to develop and everything, how it all works. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is like they go, oh, I just buy this product and it should be perfect. But there's so much into it, and like the knowledge that you have with it is like things that you've picked up. And like I think that's why a lot of times too is what keeps us young is the fact that we're doing things that we love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, like I've been at jobs in the past, like as a kid, and even like that I was just like, why am I putting myself in a position where I don't have to be here, but I choose to be here, right? And it's just like, man, and I don't feel like I've like once I realized that in my head and like I was capable of doing other things, then I was like, all right, so
yeah.
Well, and it's just go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I go ahead. You're good.
No. Fun fact. You were a salesman before pro paintball. This is the story that I love about you. Like you were Cutco.
So I did Cutco. I did.
Yeah.
I sold cable when I was 15 as a telemarketer. I actually got a job. A guy named Chad and myself both had. I had the interview, and then or I had the drug test. He had the interview, and then when I came in after the drug test, they were like, "Okay, well, you're hired." And I'm like, "That's it?" And they're like, "Wait, this guy. Do you guys both want the job?" And then I ended up working there for 3 or 4 years as a telemarketer, because like I mean, obviously I had to have a way of paying for paintball, but and then as I moved to Chicago and things like that, I did sell Cutco, and I actually still believe that's some of the best knives that you could ever get. So
No, they're so good.
I tell you what. So I mean, you guys use them all the time when at the house in
Yeah, I'm more of a Wusthof guy for my kitchen knives, or
yeah, I can see you
some
being a
Japanese
connoisseur of
steel
knives.
is nice, but Cutco's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like Cutco and Benchmade for their kitchenware. Benchmade just started making their kitchenware, and it's really good. But anyways, no, I think that's just your personality. Is you are a people pleaser, and you just can relate to anybody. I mean, I'm going to give you some flowers real quick.
You are.
Before he does, you can relate to anyone, but you can annoy some people too. So.
Ryan's been on the hungover side of me fucking with him in the van a lot.
You know, I'm going to give you your flowers for sure. I mean, you're the reason why I fell in love with Houston Heat.
Really?
Yeah. You and Ronnie. Just your antics together. Moorhead, calm down over there.
Just us being fucking ballistic buffoons.
Yes,
I'll take it. Hey, I like it.
It's just, and then y'all were always goofy and jovial and loving life, and life made you high. Like you were just after you were after it. And you know, you didn't know me from Sikkim. Like you didn't know me. We had communicated on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then we just so happened to cross paths. I was in Texas. Y'all had an event at Giant
Giant Sports Park. Yeah.
Or Giant Sports Park. Yeah. So, and I was like, yeah, I'll come help out for a day. I ran pods. None of y'all knew I had a 10-inch plate and 8 screws, and I couldn't run worth of crap with this.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. No, I have shooting pain every time I run.
Oh, my
God. yeah, I wasn't going to complain. I was going to get to help y'all out, and I was about it. And I was out there. I was just dying. I was like, my leg is killing me. But it because of your selflessness and how genuine and caring you are. I mean, it's led to me being here. And Ryan probably would have had a podcast later on. It was on his radar, but to be honest, I don't know if I would be here if it wasn't for you. Genuinely, I mean, full honesty.
I love that.
It was that, yeah, it was the selflessness that you brought. And now I get to help with intricate parts behind the scene. And, I consider Heat and you and I consider y'all family, part of a brotherhood. And so, you were just that person in paintball, and I was so bummed when you were hanging up the flag, but I knew you were going to do so much greater things. And, you're happy, but you're sad for selfish reasons. Right. And, just because I miss looking at you dead in the eye and telling you, hey, lock it in. And then you just click and you go into warrior mode. Yeah. And then it's like, I miss those things, but I know that, I mean, our friendship is not over, and it's just, and now you get to go do your next chapter of life, which I'm super ecstatic about.
And you're gonna play if I do like a whole 10-man team this year for Met, right?
Yeah, that's probably the only time I'll step back on because
that's what I mean. If I was get the whole Heat squad,
yeah, it'd be fun. And Frank sends me death threats, and he's like, "Hey,
I know.
Now that you're ranked semi-pro, you and Ryan can play this together, and it's not an option." And I'm like, "Trying to change my number?" No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah.
How'd golf go with Frank the other week?
What's that?
How'd golf go with that man the other week?
So that was so the first weekend you guys had practice. I got to go to a wedding, which I never obviously go to with family because I always chose paintball, and my family is very understanding of that. And so that was cool because like my family actually got to see, like on my side, I get to really hang out with my wife, right? And I loved every second of that because like they went to Disney, and like I'm not a big Disney guy, but at the same time, like they are Disney family, and she loved it. They loved her, and like other than our wedding, like we haven't really lived close to family, so they got to really hang out with her and like share moments with her and everything else, which was great. And so like I truly was like, okay, like this is nice because my family gets to really, I was worried about that like when I had kids, and it's like it's hard because it's like I want to be there. Like I hated leaving my puppies, and it was just like shit. Like I want my family to be more around, like my wife and my kids and everything else. And it's like, it's just something you gotta look at differently. And it's like, okay, like this makes me happy. So I knew I was okay with a lot of things and everything else. So I was like, hey, like this is another step. So, and like you said, you have to go into every day and be open about it and trying to accomplish things. And if people don't have those goals or they spend their time hating on the internet and everything else, I just don't have time for it. I'm just like, all right. So, but no, I love it a lot. So I'm happy with it. And I'm glad to know that, obviously how with you there and helping out the guys. And I see it with the social media. And I know that, like you're a very helpful person. So it works out, and they're in good hands. And I know if Randy trusts you to be there, he's pretty critical in the pit. So
yeah,
I'm just kidding. He's fucking ballistic in the pit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take that for note. He is the master in the pit. There's a grill master, and then there's a pit master. That's Randy Wade.
So did your trip back from Disney after you toured the world, getting all their little drinks? Did that go better than the Uber ride back from Versailles? Or
oh yeah, I didn't piss myself in the Uber, but that's because I was in my own
I
car.
wasn't telling stories.
But I did do that. My wife likes to still laugh.
Yes.
I was just watching that. I was just watching that video the other night.
Really?
Oh.
I was actually watching something where somebody got married in Versailles, and I was like, yeah, pissed all over that garden. But I was just, I mean, I didn't know anything about Versailles, right? And my wife went to Paris. She met me after the tournament there. I believe we won. Yeah, that's that trophy right there. And yeah, so we were going through Paris and everything. She went to go to Versailles, and Ryan and his wife actually were there as well. And
yeah, that was a trip I got engaged on.
Yeah.
What?
And, yeah. So he was getting engaged on one side. So that was the thing too. Is like everybody thought I was going to get engaged there, but I knew that he was getting engaged there, and I was like, well, I'm not doing it now. And I was like, all right. But
near P&M Bouchez.
Well, we're going through Versailles, and they're serving me chalices of beer, right? And I'm like, oh, this place is great. Blah, blah, blah. And it's
To
a
be
45-minute
fair,
ride back to
that
the city.
existed before like sewage did, so lots of people have peed there.
No, 100%.
That's I found that out. And as I'm like listening to their little book thing as I'm going through, they're like, oh yeah, they would just throw it out the window. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go over here. And I didn't get in trouble for peeing in the garden. And I stopped at a bar as we were waiting for our Uber and started drinking another chalice of beer. And I didn't think about it. And I literally, it's 45 minutes back, and I couldn't speak French. I couldn't get my wife to literally tell the Uber driver. And we're in a nice Uber. It was like a Mercedes. And we're going back, and I'm like, please just tell him to pull over. And she's like, mind over matter. And I looked at her right in the eyes, and I'm like, I am pissing myself right now. So if you watch one of Ronnie's vlogs, it's there. So you'll see it. But yeah, I called Ryan, and I'm like, I just pissed myself. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And my wife, she is not shy of it. And like, I had gray jeans on at the time.
She was
pulled out her
laughing.
phone.
So
Yeah, she's losing her shit. And I'm just like, it's not funny. Like, I just piss all over me. And I'm like, oh,
it was pretty funny though.
Yeah. I mean, you look back at it, and I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? But obviously,
I think that's a pretty cool thing about paintball, because obviously, like the places we've gone to play, but also the trips we've taken as friend groups after, or using your mouths and taking, like, your wife, your fiance, your girlfriend, being able to travel the world without, unmanageable expenses, being able to do things that, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. The amount of times I've been to Europe and then got to do things because we've had our statuses or anything else, and just go and experience things. Like, I mean, I got to go to Russia. Like, that was awesome. I saw a 12-year-old get a Houston Heat tattoo on his arm in Russia. And I was like, oh my God, take my jersey. And I was like, I didn't know what else you could give him. I was like, please don't tell anybody I saw this, right?
Oh my God.
He's 12 years old. Houston Heat tattoo right on his arm.
Yeah, I remember being in like bars in Germany and seeing 12-year-olds just chugging beers and being like, that's weird. Every place is different. So 12-year-old tattoos aren't that weird.
I think though that in Russia, like what they do, and I'm not trying to rat on Russia here, I'm pretty sure they drink really young, because then they don't want to drink anymore as they get older.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
that's
like
pretty standard in general.
At
least they drink around their families a little bit before, and then
yeah. It's almost like we have something backwards here. You wait till you go 21, then you go bonkers. But
I mean, let's be real. How many
define
kids are
bonkers,
waiting?
really? What are we talking about here?
Define bonkers. How many kids are waiting? How many parties did you have in fields or whatever? It is part of growing up and learning responsibility and learning limits and realizing what you should do to not get in trouble and being responsible. I mean, you always need those struggles. So, but yes, America is a little bit worse about it, as far as it's a little more egregious at the young ages because it's more hidden.
Yeah. But what is, I'm gonna ask y'all this. What is y'all's favorite travel story that y'all had as Houston Heat? I know it's hard. I know it ain't. I know
it's
it ain't
almost
gonna
impossible, because sometimes it's just a little moment of a trip. But like, are you talking about like a whole trip, a whole place, just one little story? It's just
like a little moment.
We did Running with the Bulls. Ryan made it to the end. I didn't know there was an end. I just thought this is just don't die.
Yeah.
Well, wait, whoa. You
like
were
legit.
Wait, what?
So after our one tournament, we were going to Pamplona because it was during, the Running with the Bulls festival.
Okay.
This was a good trip. Right after the tournament, I think we might have won that event too, but we went to I think we did actually. Well, we went to Bilbao, and we hung out there for a while. Randomly ran into Blake actually there,
and he had just been attacked by a bull in France.
He did. He was in France
like a week
before the tournament, and they had like some juvenile bulls with like, they say like they wrap their horns, but it's like a piece of gauze over their sharp tip, basically. And juvenile bulls are still 450 pounds, something like that. And he was in there, in the French little arena, like running around with it, and it got him pretty good, stuck him pretty good in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Dude, it said he went behind this hay stack, like thinking he was like safe, right through the haystack, pinned him up against the boards, and just kept going on him. And I was like, dude.
So we randomly run across him, having a good night out with him. He's telling us this story like the day before we go to Pamplona, and like
Fear. Fear's
people
in
already
my
have
eyes.
their nerves. People are already.
I got to run and get a water. Keep telling the story.
Yeah. It was
you're good.
me, Yaya, Tim, Sam Monville, Chad George, Chad Hitella, our one buddy, and Greg Seawers. So
Okay.
we had a good group of us,
Yeah.
But yeah, people were definitely getting more worried hearing that story. We go to Pamplona the next day. And one crazy thing about that city is it's a fairly small city. Like, I think they only have a population of like 70,000. But during those 2 weeks, there's 2 million people there.
Right.
All wearing the exact same outfit, not enough rooms. So people are walking around like zombies, laying on benches. Like every hotel room and hostel are just jam packed. And it's literally like nowhere else in the world. It's like looking at like a Where's Waldo book. Like everyone's just in the exact same outfit, partying the entire time. And the one thing we did say is like the first night we got there, we were going to run the next day. And we're like, okay, no matter what, let's just, run sober. It seemed like a good roll. We already were pretty rough in Bilbao. I think we were living on like a Pringles and salami diet.
Nice.
He's not kidding when he says that.
We had one meal.
I believe him.
So we go out.
I've seen his snack drawer.
We go out in
Team 6, baby.
We go out in Pamplona, and like we're having a good night. We're thinking it's about time to like go back. And then all of a sudden we ran across this like random concert that was happening, right? And we're in the middle of this concert getting like 50-cent beers. Well, we end up staying up until we pretty much had to leave. I think Tim and you and a few other people left
Chad
to the hotel. Yeah, you guys left, got like an hour of sleep, which was pretty cool. And then it was me, Greg, and Chad were still out there.
Did you tell them about our rooms?
Not yet. I was getting to this. So me, Chad, and Greg are still there. Our rooms were probably like, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile away from like downtown. Because like I said, it's packed there. There's 2 million people in a 70,000 person city.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're getting there. We're like, oh man, we have to leave our hotel in 30 minutes to go make it in time to run with the Bulls. And we still had to go back and like get our new outfit on because you can't have any like stains on it and things. Like you have to be like presentable when you run because they don't want like a bunch of drunk. It's dangerous, They don't want a bunch of drunk people running and dying. And so we run back, literally get to our hotel room for like 10 minutes. I remember like laying in my bed, like, oh, this is nice. Okay, time to get up. We all get up, hang out. Our room was like, what were you wanting to tell about our room? It was like one room with like some bunk beds in it and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So we thought we didn't really know what to expect, but I think Chad Hatella had booked the rooms for us. And the rooms were like, the beds were all like touching. And it was like, that was it. And then there was a toilet. It could have been a prison cell, but just with like some like little artifacts.
Hey, there was about 500,000 people out just wandering the streets and sleeping on benches. So we were doing all right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when Ryan Greenspan and J-Rab and those guys went a couple years before, they just slept in a car.
Bank in a car, yeah.
And then like, took a bath like in a fountain. Like
they had some soap
I wasn't
in
there
the
for
little
that,
river.
I'm pretty sure that's what J-Rab told me.
Oh yeah.
So I felt like we'd upgraded on that moment. And then I went back to get maybe an hour or two of sleep. And then I was just like, dude, like what do we do? Because when we were walking the course, did you tell them how you saw the wall with the guy with all the blood?
Oh no, I did not. You can tell that.
So the guy who wrote the book, How to Survive Pamplona.
Oh no, that happens later. We'll get to that.
Oh, okay. We'll leave that part out.
That happens later. Yeah. But we did get to it, and like, so the day before we like walked the course, as prepared as we can be, and it's all cobblestone. It's mostly uphill for like 2/3 of a mile, I believe. And like some areas are like little squares, so it opens up a little bit, but then the actual like alleyways that you're running down are maybe 8 to 10 feet wide.
And how many bulls they herd through? How many bulls? How many bulls they herd through?
I think it's like 6 fighting bulls and then 6 steers that follow them.
So y'all got some mean SOBs running.
Oh yeah, I mean, these are the best of the fighting bulls. You 15 to 1,800 pound bulls that like at that Fermona festival is like the bull. It's like the Super Bowl bull fighting.
Yeah, because they do it in other places, and it's not what this is, right? Like this is like this is the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So we're like walk the course. We're like, okay, we got to figure it out. But like even like the doorways in these alleyways, they're flush. So like they might have like a 2-inch ledge, but you can't really get into them.
You can't hunker down.
Yeah, so it is like super dangerous and stuff. So we're walking there, we're walking down the street, and in the morning, like right after, before they're like hosing it down and stuff, it's just 2 million people like peeing on the street and stuff. It is not smelling nice when you're still like hungover drunk.
There's not enough police to stop these people from doing anything.
Chad George almost like pooped his pants, had to like use his newspaper that you use to swat the things, found a store, had to buy something, went in, just made it in the nick of time.
Oh my God.
Now we all get in where we start the bull runs, and you're packed in like sardines because like until they open up the gates where you can kind of like wander off before they let down the bulls, you're just sitting there like they're playing all the races from the day before and stuff. We're sitting there, we're like, hey, we're not going to judge anyone if you leave right now because this is dangerous.
And
it's like, real. It's
add to that when we see this video, it is people like getting flipped in the air and then a bull's horn just going through this guy's leg. Like, it is brutal. Real. And I'm like, and as Ryan says this, right? Go ahead, Ryan.
No, go for it.
You're telling about Chad, I tell?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry for using the last name, just Chad.
Well, there's 3 Chads on this trip. So.
Yeah. There's little Chad.
Big head Chad, little head Chad, and yeah.
3 amigos.
He flies far to be a part of this, right? Like what, from San Francisco?
Yeah. He might have been in New York at the time. I don't know if he was in San Francisco or New York.
And he's such a nice guy. Like he's super, super nice guy. And he
used to play for like Evil Factory and stuff. Was a good player in his own right. Tip effect, but hasn't played in a long time. But still likes to travel and be a part of the boys.
Yeah.
And he literally, I remember like kind of breaking away against my position on the wall, and they're like, "Chad's not going." I was like, "That's an option here." They're like, and Ryan's like, "Well, yeah. Like if you really feel like you can't do it, like then don't do it." And I'm like,
I was like, "You can die doing this without even doing anything wrong."
Because it's not even just the bulls. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we had like a pre-set meeting place at this bar anyway, because we're like, we could get separated. There's tons of people. Like when we're done, just meet here. So we're like, hey, just go up to the bar, watch the race.
This is the most organized we've probably ever been.
Yeah. Because it was dangerous. It was dangerous,
That's when I knew shit was real. Like, guys,
when you're like, oh, wait, no one's making fun of him for not going. You're like, no. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
So like, he went up there to watch. Like Tim and you and Sam were just kind of like, oh, we're just gonna try not to die. And I think like me, Greg, and Chad were like, oh, we'll run together. This won't be a big deal. So I'll tell like my side of the run, and then you can tell your side.
Okay, athletes, just happy to be there, people. Okay, that's how we're gonna separate this group.
So me, Chad, and Greg are like sitting here waiting. They send a firework off. That means they release the bulls. And you got about 25, 35 seconds until they get to where you are, and then you're just running with them, right?
Oh.
So as soon as the bulls are there, we jump out, we're running with them. And I look around, I was like, well, I already lost him or Greg and Chad. I have no idea where they are. And the whole time, everyone who like isn't making fun of you for running, because all the locals are like, oh, you guys are here to run? That's stupid, right? Everyone who's not doing that just tells you, hey, no matter what you do, go to the inside of Dead Man's Corner. Go to the inside of Dead Man's Corner. No matter what you do in the race, make sure you go to the inside of Dead Man's Corner. And it's this like over 90-degree acute turn that's uphill, and it's coming out from like a more opening that funnels in because it's like a courtyard, funnels in, sharp uphill 90 on this like skinny cobblestone, right? And I guess the bulls will skid out there a lot because the cobblestone's always washed out.
Yeah.
And they'll just crush people against that fence. So they're like, most of the deaths happen in that corner from that cause. So like, go to the inside, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting up near Dead Man's Corner, and there was 0% chance I could go outside. There was like a pile of 30 people on the ground, like a bull stop there. Like I was right behind the bull, like swatting it with my paper. I looked to the right. I was like, that's the inside, but I got to go that way. Like jumped over some dead bodies. They weren't really dead, but basically, and just took off again. And like, I really feel like I ran this thing in like, I don't know, fastest I've ever had to run. Cause
he was fast as fuck.
Time. And
like,
people
I'm talking
are panicking. And people are panicking. Like it is a fight or flight instance. And like people are pushing each other and scared and screaming. And like, basically, if all the bulls pass you, they'll like shut gates, right? And then they have herders with sticks and stuff that are pushing the steers along, and they'll like hit people like, nope, you're too late. But if you make it before all the bulls pass, you can get into the stadium and like mess around with some little bulls, and there's a stadium full of people cheering and stuff. So I got into the stadium, and then tell your perspective on the race, and then we'll
Okay,
do
so
some
Tim and
mix up.
Tim and Sam are sitting there against the wall, and this old man is like, "Yeah, I run this all the time." Well, this big old security guard comes over and he just picks him up. He's like, "Yeah, you're not running this." Fucking tosses him out, and I'm like, "Are we gonna get tossed out?" And he's like, "No."
And then there's people with cameras that they were trying to hide cameras.
Yeah, if
in
you have
their
a camera,
shirts,
like
they were getting
anything
kicked
that's
out.
gonna
You
like
can't
literally
like film
distract me.
on there. You'll get fined, like go to
Whoa.
jail. Like
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to go to jail in Spain, but at the same time, as like the first set of bowls come, like I just remember looking at Tim being like, "It's go time, motherfucker!" And I was like, "Ah!" We just took off, and I lost Tim and Sam instantly, like just lost them.
Oh shit.
Like gone. See you later. But the thing too is it's not just the bowls that fuck you up. It is the people will knock you down, like they're
and
scared.
trample
They're-
you, like
yeah.
trample you.
and
It
I'm
is,
little, and
Every
yeah.
man for themselves.
And there's people just sitting there too that just are just trying to knock people down, like especially in Dead
Mhm.
Man's Corner. Like when he says there's 30
and
people,
especially if you look like a foreigner, like
yeah, they're trying to knock you down to get you all like screwed up, right? And I get knocked down so fast. I bounce up, and I'm
Sam
just
loves
like,
telling this story. Oh, so you bounced up? Sam always tells me he grabbed you.
well, he was
Hoisted
gone,
you
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was bounced up in my eyes, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, I'm running as hard as I can. This guy knocks me down, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm about to. I literally felt truly like I was gonna piss myself then, right? Because I was so scared because I didn't know like how close his bowl was to me or anything else, or the people were gonna knock me down or anything else, and
Yeah.
it was scary. But at the end of it, like those guys, the athletes, had made it all in. I believe Tim made it in too.
Tim did
Yeah.
make it in. I was so surprised when I saw him
Yeah.
up there.
But I didn't
And I
really know what I
guess-
was running towards. I just knew
Yeah,
that I was
no.
trying not to die.
Yes,
So
yes, that was goal
and-
number one.
yeah. And then when we made it, they closed us right at the gates. And
Yeah.
then so Sam and I were both just at our meeting point, just drinking because we were happy that we were alive. I was texting my
Yeah.
family. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm alive. I made it. And then
I will say
then-
this too, like, so this is where that thing about there is a guy that like has run it a ton of times, and he wrote a book called like How to Survive Running with the Bulls in Pamplona, or Pamplona Running with the Bulls. And that run that we did that morning, he actually got gored and had to go to the hospital. Like, so there's safer runs and then there's more dangerous runs. And basically, if all the bulls stay together, they feel less threatened and it kind of just moves smoothly. If they
Herd
separate
mentality.
if they separate into groups, they start panicking, and that's when it starts getting dangerous. Well, ours, like all those fighting bulls, separated into 3 groups. One got ahead of them all, and he was just flinging people. Like that's where we were seeing
shit.
people like pout up, because like he was goring people, throwing them into the walls. There was people like mangled and stuff, and then the rest of them separated into 2 packs. So like our whole race was kind of like a little more mayhem than it always is, even though it's always mayhem, right?
Right.
And we get into the stadium, and I'm still like, I don't know if any of my friends made it. I don't know if any of my friends died. And like finally, like I found Tim first, I think. I was like, oh, you're here. That's awesome. And then I
Made
found
it.
Greg, and I found Chad. And like the whole time, like you have so much going through like your senses, like you like are seeing in HD, hearing, like happy to be alive. It is like just
Full
the biggest
force.
adrenaline dump
Yeah.
that
Full
you
force
could ever
adrenaline.
feel. Yeah, full force adrenaline feels
Yeah.
fantastic. It's like those moments are always like the best, such a relief, but such a just elation too, you know.
Mhm.
And then we're watching on the screen, and they were watching up at the bar. Sam, Yaya, and our other buddy Chad.
Yeah.
And no joke, this is before this is before they got to the bar actually, and we hadn't known if any of them made it. We're watching on the screen highlights of our run, and this dude that looked identical to Sam was getting like carted in, like all mangled into a thing. We're like,
Oh
man,
my god.
Dude,
Sam
like
like
real
dead. And like Chad, I tell is panicking up in the bar. Like only Chad knows that Sam's fine because he's walking to the meeting point.
Sam
with
picked
him.
me up.
Chad,
yeah,
are we talking little head? Chad G?
No, yeah.
I-
Chad's with me,
yeah.
Craig, and Tim, and we're in the stadium. Like,
So
that
that
could have
Chad
been
G
Sam.
made it. So you,
Yep.
Tim, Chad G.
And
All
Greg
three
Sewell.
of
And Greg Sewers, the athletes,
Oh.
plus Tim.
So we were in there, and like during that time, like all the running bulls run through whatever, they cage them up, and those are the bulls that are going to do the bullfights later, right? So they go through their whole super inhumane system that they do to them before their bullfights, but they start releasing one juvenile bull at a time. And like everyone who ran and made it into the stadium, like you can hop out and into the stands, which Tim did instantly. He's like, I'm not playing with these little bulls.
Yeah,
or
he-
you could like run
he
around
proved his
with them,
point.
and like people try to like jump over them, and these little bulls get mad and they're throwing people into the stands. And at one point in time, this bull was like charging like right at like me and Chad. I think Tim was right above us in the stands laughing at us. And
this is where Blake Yarber the week before had gotten himself into trouble, right?
Like doing situation. This stuff. Like, exactly. So like, I like kind of like just like stuck because like there were so many people like panicking trying to get out. Like I was kind of like trapped. Chad just like dove over and landed face first on his head into like the stands. And Tim's like, "Ooh, look at that guy! He just messed up his head." And he picked him up, and it was Chad. Chad's like bleeding out of his eyebrow. And I just stopped. And when I stopped, like the bull, like they're kind of like T-Rexes. I don't think they don't go for you if you don't have too much movement, right? So then for the rest of the time, I'd be in there and just like staring them down, and then they'd always go for someone else last second. So that was pretty cool.
Tim said he was just watching. He's like just watching Chad like run around, and all of a sudden he's like, "Doop!" right on his head, and he's like,
"Dolphin."
That's not for me.
So how happy was Chad Hightello when you and Sam showed up though?
He was almost like not hyperventilating, but he was definitely happy that like he got to see all this, but he didn't care to prove it. The fact, and which I respected because he's like, hey, because
there's no reason to need to do it.
Well, I will tell you this: it takes a bigger man to bow out,
dude,
than a man who just follows the pack.
Oh, I said that then, and I still stick with that. Like you only should do things that are risky like that if you have confidence and you need to do.
I gotta start living to that mentality.
Well, here's the deal. I grew up with cattle my whole life, right?
Yeah, so you know.
Oh, dude, the worst that's scarier than a pissed off bull is a mama cow when she has a calf, and you have to go out and put a ear tag on this calf so you know which one is, because you keep record books and it's your cow tags for the year or cattle tags for the year. You know, you're like, these are the newborns. This is this one, you know, like the vaccination, when you go and do all this stuff for them, you know which one you can have a data book. When you go to tag the newborns, it is the scariest thing. You want to talk about goosebumps, bro. I mean, like you go out there and the mom's right there, the cow's right there with them, and they're pissed, like snot running out of their nose. They're like, "What are you doing to my baby?" And you're going over there and you're like, and the calf's bawling, just like not happy.
Yeah.
It is straight chaos when you deal with a pissed off cow.
Yeah.
And you go and hit that cow with an ear tag, that mom tries to kill you every time.
Oh, yeah, because that's her baby.
Yeah. And you're in the open.
Just kicking and
oh, dude, you're in the open. You're like, click, and you're like trying to scurry, dented trucks, like horses, like trucks will get dented. You're running around just like in fear for your life, just like running away. Cattle are ferocious animal, and that's why. And if you grow up with cattle, I have never met a rancher that was a vegan, because them animals are nothing but a headache and pissed off creatures that have already tried to kill you. So
that's fair.
That is a fair statement.
Now we did go to later that night. We did go to the bullfights with the bulls we ran with, and I will say, like, I felt like I needed to do that once because it is people's culture and stuff like that. But man, it was brutal.
I don't
not enjoy anything about that. Yeah, and then they kind of lock you in, so you can't like leave. And
oh, really? See, I don't like. Yeah, that's
it's
a little
intense,
rough for
dude.
me. Even.
Well, the thing is, it's like, so they do that run, and then they basically put them in like a dark room in like the stadium for that
sensory
day.
deprivation.
Sensory deprivation. Then before they run, they put like cotton balls in their ear. They like wax up their eyes so they're like a little blinded. Can't hear as good. They put like a 6-inch long spike in their penis so that it's like more like injured already. And then they go up, and you think like, oh, they bullfight right away, but they don't. Right at first, they have these like bullfighters out there, but like 3 of them, and they just run the bull around, tire them out. Right. And then they bring in these like armored horses with these fat dudes with spears and like funny looking hats. And they'll like stick them and spin them so that they're like bleeding. And then they bring in the bullfighter actually fights them, and he has like little spears and he's sticking them all in them. So these bulls are just like haggard by the time the bullfighter. And then he gets out there and they're monsters of animals still. They're still like fighting they're still and they can live. Like some of them, like if they put on a good fight and the bullfighter can't do it, like if they get to like 3 horns, they can go live on a pasture and get like massaged every day for the rest of their life. But that's a small percentage of them that it happens, you know.
Yeah.
The other ones are
small percentage.
Yeah, like the first fight we saw was just the worst thing maybe I've
I
ever
guess
seen. Like
I
where
didn't know
that,
what to expect, and when I
yeah,
did see it, I
none
was
of
like,
us did. None of us did.
oh,
And this first one, like I don't know if the bullfighter wasn't good, the bull was just tough, whatever. But by the end of it, like he's walking around just trail of blood the whole way around the stadium, barely
Yeah,
standing. The dude
that's a
keeps
bummer.
trying to get him with the sword, can't because they have to hit like a small area and they like sever their spinal cord is how they like finish them off when they're
it's like
charging them.
harpoons, right?
We'll do it with the sword at the end is how they
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it. That's when they charge them and they get them right down the back and
Yeah.
they like try to sever it. But this one's it's just not going good. And he like got to like it kind of ended up being a draw, but this bull was definitely dead. And then after
Yeah,
that,
that
and like
sucks.
we saw this guy who like traveled from Mexico to come watch this fight in particular because the night also is like the Michael Jordan of bullfighting was doing it, and he did really well. Like that one was like much smoother. If they were all like that, it wouldn't have had as
Yeah,
bad
that
of
made
an
sense.
impression on me.
Yeah.
But that first one we saw was so brutal. And then we actually almost saw a bullfighter get gored too. We thought we did, right? Like they're
Yeah.
wearing spandex, and we saw the bull get him in his leg, toss him, throw him, and everyone in the stands, even that guy who like real familiar with the sport, is like, oh, "Wow, that like never happens." But it turns out like it somehow his horn somehow snuck in between his spandex and his leg and just like scraped it, and they caught his pants to throw him. So it was a
Like
pretty
flew,
wild
like
night, but that's not
fling in
something
the
I'll
air.
watch again.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, probably 10,
no,
15
it's
feet.
as much as I grew up with those animals and they're a pain in the ass, I don't think I'd ever watch it. It's like
It's rough,
nah,
dude.
it's not my thing. It's not my thing. Like that's just it. But
No.
it is their culture. People will come over here to the States and be like, this is your culture. Like they don't understand. You don't get it. You didn't grow up with it. So
And
it's
sometimes that's an excuse, and sometimes it's not, because there's culture, and then there's signs of times too,
yeah, for
There's
sure.
there was a lot bad about the Roman culture, And I
Yeah.
think we could have just been like, that was their culture.
Fair enough. But you know what's crazy? You look at it now, and we're going to take it back to paintball. Y'all are the old guard. You guys, you have what grew paintball today. Now, I know teams don't really get to go anymore and do what y'all did because the NXL Europe doesn't allow US teams. Now, you can go in individually and play, but you don't get to go as a team anymore.
And honestly, it's not just that. COVID was really hard on that for a lot of countries, right? And when they made restrictions and their economies, like every economy on earth right now is worse off than it was before, basically, right?
100%.
So it's like it was a combination of a lot of things, but yeah, those opportunities aren't the way they used to be, but I think it'll get to that point again.
I mean, y'all got to go to Thailand. Y'all got to go all over Europe. Y'all got to travel the world, but as a team, you got to do it. And those times, in my opinion, are just a growth. If you were a team that got to do that, that is such a major growth. It's not just growth for the team, but your individual person, and to like link to the core with your teammates.
It truly does make you appreciate them, not only just America, but like you said, you're growing those memories with your team and those experiences. And like I like genuinely, like when we first started doing it, I was like so jet lagged and everything else, and I'm like, why are we doing this? And then eventually it was, I cannot wait until we go back, right? And it was just like, because when we got the opportunity to, like, we didn't have to worry about anything but just playing and going to have this experience. And that's something that Sarge provided us with, which is nice. And, and then, like you said, we also had the luxury of, bringing our wives or somebody with us that, could share that experience and
or
hang out with the
parlaying
guys.
that trip to another trip,
Yeah.
Because once you're over there, things like that, you can stay, things are cheap. Flights are cheap to other countries.
Yeah.
And, I think that just makes me more fond of y'all because you have a brotherhood, right? And you have these memories, and it's like you said, you're like, which one's what favorite story do you want? You can't even pick a favorite story, and that is such a blessing in life. And
you forget a lot of stories where once in a while, like someone will say something and it makes you remember and be like, man, that like, I love that story. I appreciate that. That meant so much to me. And like, you
Yeah.
forget about them because we packed a lot of good stories into every second of every day for a long time, you know?
Yeah,
And
100%. Because you're not thinking about it at that time period, so it's like, all right.
well,
But-
and it's like I'm gonna date back to one of my favorite stories of Yaya. It was my first trip I got to spend with Houston Heat, where y'all stayed. World Cup. What was that? 3 years ago? World Cup 3 years ago. I got in super late because of my job. I think I got in at like 3:30 in the morning. That's the year I got a Challenger. And
I remember that with the Challenger.
Yep. And I roll up and I get in the house. Yaya's like, this is the code. Just come in, be quiet. He's like, this is where you're sleeping. And I am so gracious to this day of that couch. And I was on this couch because last minute, I was like, yo, do I need to book a hotel? I was like, no, you're staying with us, dude. Your family, like, get in here. And so I sleep on this couch and I'm kind of over by it had a weird front entryway kind of segued from the living room kitchen.
Yeah,
and I'm sleeping and comes up. It's 5:30. I've had 2 hours of sleep. And Yaya's like, woo, just like,
just one of those annoying parts that Ryan did not appreciate.
And I woke up and I was like, morning, Yaya. And you're like, oh shit, I forgot you were asleep. And I'm like, no, dude. I said, it's all good. I said, it's all good. I said, I got a few hours. I was like, I'm good to go. And that's when you were doing ice baths with Ronnie. I'm pretty sure that's on the vlog.
You helped us carry the ice in there. I remember that.
Yeah, we were carrying the ice into this big jacuzzi. And I will just never like.
That's that one you flooded out too that year, huh?
No, that was last year with Mishka.
Oh, okay.
Mish did that.
But I think.
I mean, no, we didn't. What are you talking about?
We didn't flood nothing. No, we didn't do nothing. But the interesting thing that I learned about you is you were jovial, living life beyond happy from sun up, the moment you wake up, till the sun goes down. And then the next day, it's the same energy.
Oh, my man's like a light switch. He's not a dimmer either.
No,
he's on.
No, it's on or off. It's on or off.
My wife she probably fucking hates it, but she just looks at me like I'm an animal.
But I got to learn who you are, and it just made me love you even more and consider you a brother, right?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but the funny thing, okay, so I got a question to ask. First thing, with Mishka, okay, because you roomed for Mishka for how many years?
2012.
Oh, wow.
And then
so the beginning.
I'll be right back.
Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah, from the very beginning, yeah.
Okay, so from the very beginning, you roomed with Mishka. So when I was in Dallas, I hit up Ryan Smith and I was like, hey man, I know y'all are going to be doing a lot of in between points and like you're going to do all this practice, like exposition stuff, like, this year before the season started. I was like, I'd love to come down if you have a spot for me. I was like, I'll take care of my flight. Like, just let me, like, I want to come help. I want to come be with the boys.
Yeah.
Right. He goes, yeah, no worries. So I get in there. I am beat. I think I was like plowing snow multiple days, early mornings, like 3 a.m. and stuff. And then, so I get there and I'm just tired. And I'm like, so Bird, I was like, what room am I in? He goes, you can either room with Mishka or Pat. And I was like, okay. He goes, I'm going to forewarn you. I think Mishka keeps it like a sauna. Is that true? Does Mishka keep?
So Ryan can attest to this too. The reason why Mishka and I actually liked rooming together for a long time was because we kept our room at like 70, 72. And Ryan, Tim, Sam, Chad, like they love it cold, right? And
coldest it can get.
Like right now it's like 71
Amen.
here. I'm like freezing.
I can't
So-
sleep if it's too hot.
So
I need it to be so cold that I do not want to get out of bed in the morning.
yeah.
Oh, not me. Mishka and I are just sweating on each other. Just
So
No
the funny
problem.
thing is,
Well, Mishka used to sleep naked with you too at the beginning, right?
I had to explain that to him that we can't do that. Hey, don't
Mhm.
get in bed. Little banana hammocks. He'd roll over on me, hold me, thinking I was his wife.
So the funny thing is, so I looked at Pat. I was like, "How cold you keep the room?" He's like, and Pat's like, I've never had a roommate. Pat's like, I've never had a roommate, and I was like,
He
you
always,
might
he
be
always sleeps on
having,
people's couches, or he just had dealt with it. He's a
yeah,
trooper.
well, and I was like, Pat, I was like, you might be having your first roommate tonight. So we had this, like, the hotel was jacked up at this exposition, and like all the rooms were booked out. There was this huge like wedding or something going on. It was like massive.
Was this in
like,
Ohio?
multiple day. No, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And the funniest thing, so Bird goes, you can sleep with Mishka, who keeps it like a sauna, or you can sleep with Pat, who snores. And I was like, I'm gonna take snoring. I need the cold. Like, I was like,
Yeah, Pat's not gonna have it warm. He'd have a lot of sweat under his titties. So he's a
He's
little
losing
bigger
some
on-
weight. He's been
Is he?
working. Huh?
He's
been
losing
He's
working.
not rock solid.
Oh, he's still solid.
Oh, y'all, Pat.
but it was the funniest thing. I roomed with Pat the first time, and I was sharing bed. He's like, "Oh, hold on, let me put on." He was like, "I can put on an audiobook about battleships, or I can put on rain noise." I was like, "Put on the novel." I was like, "Give me the novel." He puts on the battleships. Dude's talking to me, and we're laying in his bed, and like I'm talking back to him. Dude starts snoring. That dude can sleep. Like, I mean, that dude's out like a
Oh,
light.
he'll go out.
But so now La Papa is rooming with Mishka. So
Two
I hope.
hustlers.
What's that?
I said that's two hustlers right there. I think that's a good combination. I thought maybe
Yeah.
Soap would like to room with him. But either way, yeah.
I don't think anyone really cared who they were going to other than temperatures.
Yeah, it's just temperature
Yeah.
at this point. Like, I
Well-
love me some Mishka.
So a lot of it was off temperatures, and then Mama D tried mixing up once, and Mishka got so emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Somebody I liked rooming with too, though, is Ronnie. Like because we were
Oh, yeah,
bouncing
Ronnie's
around,
a great roommate.
yeah, doing shit all the time, and his energy level's the same as mine. So, talking about doing backflips if we could. So it's a good time, and we're always coming up with ideas.
So, core memory. I want to ask you, what is one of your favorite memories with
Each guy on the team.
Like,
Oh shit!
each guy on the team?
No, go ahead.
Every guy that's ever been on the team.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
forget any.
List them. No,
I probably
but
could.
seriously, like, as a team, whether it's tournament, outside tournament practices, whatever you may be, you know, what do you think one of the core memories that'll just be to the dying day, right? Like something that's just ingrained in your heart and mind.
I would say I was like winning the tournaments,
Mm.
like when we had that, because a lot of people don't realize like Ryan's first World Cup that he won was with Houston Heat, right? So that meant a lot to me, because I felt at the time, yeah, Ryan had won a lot of tournaments and he'd done a lot of things, but and I remember even after we won our first one with Houston Heat, like we went and actually his plane got messed up and we went and pick him up and he wouldn't touch our trophy and we brought it with us in the car. So then when Ryan got to experience that, like. That was like our second World Cup.
You guys tried holding me down and making me touch it. I said, no.
We tried to make him do it, but he did get to enjoy the dinners.
Why wouldn't you touch it?
I would say
no, because I didn't win that.
Yeah, and I understood it right there, right? It was just us giving him shit, but we were actually going to pick him up so then he could come hang out with us because his flight got messed up. So like we're all still really close at that time, and so like that was cool. And people don't realize like when you win a tournament and like how tired people really are, it's just like shit. So, yeah, probably every moment that we've won tournaments. I do remember one time in Dallas, we won the tournament. Chad beat Keith Brown in a 1-on-1. Chad had done that several times to win his tournaments. Actually, he beat Dalton in a 1-on-1, beat Keith Brown in a 1-on-1, and I remember Devin Stewart was so happy and like lost control. I think it was his first one. He like threw his arms up and fucking clocked me in the nose. And I was like, oh my God, dude, this dude just broke my nose. And I was like happy, but then I couldn't see anything. And I was like, oh my God. So that was cool. When in France was, we spent a lot of time in France before that, but it was pretty cool to win that one. There's a lot of memories that we have that I can't even begin to like just roll through the Rolodex, but I'd say just doing things as a team and
winning's fun. We could have fun doing laundry if we needed to, though, you know?
Yeah. I mean, even us going to pick our color of our loader, we were having fun with it, right? Like we made videos about it because it was just like everybody wanted a certain color and they wanted us all to use different colors, but nobody wanted to get stuck with the orange loader or the lime green loader. So it was just like, who's drawing the name out of the hat? So it made it fun, right?
Right.
It's just you're gonna miss it all, right? But at the same time, I still stay in contact. Like Sam just yesterday, he was going through Indianapolis where I used to live, and when he used to come visit me all the time, and literally sent me a picture of like he stopped at a place when he was going to Michigan, and he was getting like pepperolis or some cinnamon roll thing or something like that, and I was just like, oh yeah, I remember those, and I didn't think of them until then, right? So I have different memories with everybody. Ryan and I have a lot of memories. That it's just like good times and going on Carson Street and drinking beers with the boys and then, just living life to the fullest. So it's, there's nothing I can really truly pinpoint. And I don't want to either because there's so many good ones that it's just like, it wouldn't be fair just to like knock out one thing. Right.
It undercredits all the other ones. Yeah.
Well, that is 100% fair. And that's how, you had the time of your life. I get that 100% because when there's too many good memories, you can't have a best one because they were all the best.
Yeah.
Each one that comes up new is just as good as the last one. And, I think that is the most beautiful thing about it. And whenever I took over the Instagram page, some of my first posts were about your legacy, and oh man, I'm gonna cry.
Don't do it now. We made it this far. Don't do it. I'm getting goosebumps. All scaly and shit.
But no, seriously, like making those videos about your legacy, bro. It's genuinely what made me love paintball again. And
I didn't even want to announce it. Right. I just was going to walk away from it. And Randy's like, oh, you owe it to the people. And I'm like, you're being a bitch. I'm okay with this. You need to be okay with it. He's like, you owe it to the people. And I was like, all right. So I made that post and I didn't think I was going to cry about it at first. And then I I think it was Mouse that like little Alex Goldman, right? Who's gone back and forth on many things. And he literally was like, stop being a pussy. You'll be fine. You can always come back. I know. And I was like, okay. So no, it was,
But it's like, and I'm genuinely just beyond happy that you're still involved in paintball. Obviously, it's going to be.
It's definitely like it's our identity, right? And it's like if I didn't do this, then I don't know like where else I would truly be happy, right? Like I've gotten an offer to sell medical supplies, and the money in that is amazing. But at the end of the day, it's also about doing things with people that you know, and
and just like you talked about earlier, it's not just about money. You have to love doing what you do, or else you wake up wishing that you weren't doing it, thinking about tomorrow how you don't want to do it. You want to enjoy the things you do at work so that you can enjoy the non-work even more.
And the biggest thing too is like this. Like I love being with this company because a lot of faith has been put in my hands, right? Like I took a risk and I did retire from the game, but a lot of it is like, hey, if you believe it's going to work, then we believe it's going to work. It's never like, oh no, like we shouldn't do this or that. And it's like, they believe in me. And I appreciate that like so much that I can't even, and like, he's had the same talks with me. And, he like when we went to build Houston Heat, it was never like, he never told me no. He was like, let's figure it out together. And I mean, throughout the years, he's definitely told me no, but it was like, hey, if you think this is going to work, it's going to work. Right. So all the way from like, he just didn't know who Chad George was, which seems crazy to all of us because who Chad is. but like he knew who Ryan Moorhead was, and he knew who Tim was, but he didn't know who Chad was because Chad didn't really talk a lot, right? So he only knew certain things, but he trusted in us to do things like that. And that's how I think that a lot of times too, like, you know, he at the time wasn't like the guy that like knew everybody or anything else, but he believed in us to go and find that and to put it all together. And, you know, it was a lot of hard work, but at the same time, like I remember calling Russia at 2:00 in the morning, just talk to Fedorov to let him know that like, hey, there's an opportunity here that I think that like, you know, and he trusted in me. And that was another thing is like getting those guys to leave a team that they'd only known. And I mean, Fedorov had to come to Philly, but at the same time, he just like, what kind of job security did he really like? He was only going off things that I would tell him the truth on. And
you did that more than once, you know, you did that with those guys. You did
when
you brought me, Greg, and Tim over. You did it.
It's so funny. I was just thinking about when we were sitting there, we're sitting in a bar, right? And this will be probably one of my last stories for you guys because I have to go soon.
No worries.
We're sitting in a bar and it's in Ligonier, and Tim had known that we wanted to get like I never thought Ryan Moorhead would ever leave Impact, right?
You guys did it the right way, you know.
Yeah,
you basically blackmailed me. Now you leveraged me.
I remember looking over at Ryan, and Ryan's like, "If they're gonna go, then I'm in to go." And I was like, I beelined it out the door, called Randy, and I'm half cocked. I'm like, "Hey, like Moorhead and Tim and Greg are all on board, but we got to pull the trigger fast." And not because we're drinking, but because like if this is gonna happen, we got to make it happen now. And he's like, "All right." And then like I'm in my car, I'm like freezing, middle of winter, and I'm like, I get Jason Chosen on the phone. He's like, "Dude, yeah, let's do it." He's like, if we really do that, because that's the year that the Russians left, right? So if we could bring these guys up who know how to win just like they did, and could also like, you know, bring the team even closer. It was just like crazy. And we took 4 second places that year, like in different, because we played all over the place. And it was just
it wasn't
right on the cusp.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as we should have done, but you know.
But we were right there, and it was just like he put the faith in me to believe in these guys, and I was like, "Hey, this is like what we need to do, right?" So, and it was funny too because I remember hearing after like somebody's like, "Oh, these guys already all knew that they were all going to leave for the longest time," and it was done within like an 8-hour time period because I didn't want like Ryan.
No, it was a little longer than that because when it was finally decided, yes, but you guys.
Yeah,
had it all worked out, and I was like, listen, I have to think about this because I'm not willing to make this decision right away. So
and that was my biggest fear, is like he wasn't going to come.
And I wouldn't have if it was just about me at the time, you know, because I'm a loyal player and things like that. But when I had, you know, 2 of my really good friends want to go, and it was more of a package thing than not, it you know, weighed heavily on me. And, you know, I'm still with this team. It's been the longest running team that I've played on. So I don't think you can ever look back. Like I never want to be in a position where I regret a decision. So like, I want to make sure I make the right decision so that I'm not going to always look back and wish I did something differently. You know, I had great times on Impact, but, you know, I've obviously, you know, made my career here for a while.
You win your first World Cup. I think that established you into going into the as like literally one of the greatest players to play the game was winning that World Cup and becoming the MVP of it. It wasn't just like, oh, you just won the World Cup. Because
it was crazy how much faster that second one came.
Just right the next year.
It was right the next year. You know? Man, I probably had because I probably had seven World Cup second places. Brutal. Because I had won, you know, series before with Philly and with Impact, but never the actual World Cup. So yeah, it was
the one that haunts me. Well, there's a few that haunt me, but the one that haunted me the most, and because I'd never won anything, is when I was on Abstract. We played the Russians, and it's right when GI came out with their paint, and we were the first ones to ever get to use it. They came with a box truck. It was Sarge's divisional team that me and Sam were coaching, Russians and Abstract, and we'd all been to the finals with that paint.
It was really good.
Yeah, and a lot of teams didn't have paint deals like that, right? But Jeremy saw him. He'd only had us for the first year he had us, we were 0-15 the second half of the season. Ryan's team was beating us so bad one year that we were like, fuck it, might as well start fighting because they're just kicking the shit out of us. And
the next like 3 tournaments after that, we got warned every time we played each other.
Yeah, like they had like a conversation with us all to have like, hey, don't fight. And we're like, no, that's not.
Ross O'Rourke did used to knock his knuckles, then we used to write in blood under our faces.
He's not lying. He's telling the truth. And then like their team would just kick the shit out of us. But 3 years later, in the World Cup finals, and we lost it so fast. I couldn't even. It was a blink of an eye. It was over, and I was like, I'm never gonna be there again. Like that was a World Cup, and I had nightmares. And then 2 years later, built a team, and we were back in the World Cup, win the series title. So
amazing.
yeah, sweet.
Well, I know you got to go. I know it's getting late your time. Yeah. I want to put out there that you are just such a face for paintball, and I'm glad you're still in it, even though you're not playing. My opportunity of where it's led me to this day is way beyond measure because of you. Like, I didn't think I'd be here with an organization. I don't think I would have found a family like this. You are just such an inspiration. I know I'm not the only one. I know you're such an inspiration to this game, to people, like every day's every day in and out to people still to this day, even though you're not on the field. You just inspire people. You want, and this is what I love about you. You genuinely want the best for everyone.
Absolutely.
Like you genuinely have the mindset, and it's in your heart that you just want the best for people, the best for this sport, and you just want to see this place flourish into the potential that it has. And I can't thank you enough. And that's just my opportunity, like what you've done for me. And I'm just so gracious of the time you've given us tonight.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
When you guys asked me, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, from the bottom of my heart too. Like, obviously appreciate the time you spent with us here tonight, but more so than that, I appreciate the teammate you were with me for over a decade, the friend that we continue to be, the man that you are, the character that you are. I love you from the bottom of my heart, man, and I appreciate everything.
Oh, thanks, man. I love you too, guys.
Can't wait to give you a big squeeze next time I see you.
Dude, and nice. When I got to see
I give good
you,
hugs too, right?
Yeah, you do.
When I got to see you in Tampa, I mean, my heart was full. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I mean, genuinely, my heart was on fire. And I was like, dude, he's looking good. He's happy. Like, that made me so genuinely happy to see you still have the fire. And the compliment you gave me, you looked at me and you were like, seriously, dude, you were absolutely crushing social media. And that meant the world to me because coming from you, you're a straight shooter. There's no bullshit. I mean, you're just such an inspiration. And thank you so much for who you are and being selfless. And I know it's to also your great parents. I've gotten to meet a few times. Just, flowers to them. Yeah. But
baby.
Yeah. But thank you for being you. Thank you for being here. We just love you from the bottom of our hearts. And I
appreciate you guys having me on and everything else.
Yeah, anytime, in your final moments here, let anyone know where they can follow you.
Yes.
Where they can contact you. Anything relevant, anything you feel like you needed to say, feel free.
All I got really to say is, I'm getting my CDL because I plan on bringing a semi of paint to the NXL soon enough. So that's my next goal. So you see me break down the gates here. I'll be driving that semi myself, right into the NXL. So
bring it down that big rig, baby.
Yeah, you guys will see me. We'll be letting it fly. So, and I'm gonna let them all know.
You better have an awooga horn,
dude.
Awooga.
Well, I will let you go. I know I know it's late where you are. Dude, just thank you for everything you've ever done.
Yeah, just stay on for a couple minutes here until he stops the recording so we can make sure it's all good. But appreciate you, my man.
Yeah, we'll let you head out and get to bed. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, love you, brother.
Love you guys.
Peace. Man, so full of life. Dude's such an inspiration. Dude made me cry.
I saw you were getting teary-eyed a couple times there, bud.
Yeah, I mean, dude is just such a I owe him now that he's off. I owe him everything to Heat. My stepping stone here, and that's why it's emotional for me. He was the inspiration that got me back into paintball. He was the inspiration for my love of Heat. He was, and where we are, I consider you one of my best friends. Like, I wouldn't have that without yeah, and I wouldn't have my close friendship with Ronnie and everyone else on the team. I wouldn't be incorporated. I wouldn't be sitting here doing this if it wasn't for yeah. And that is I am hard but soft hearted. You know this. Man, I'm not just trying to take away from him. I'm just so grateful, and I owe him. I've had two dreams in the past 3 nights, and it was paintball. It's like, I mean, it's like, man, I owe him. I now have, I don't really have a soapbox. Let's be honest. I don't have a soapbox, but I have a platform now with one of my best friends because of him, because I wouldn't be here with him. And he's just, man, I can only imagine what it would have been like to been a teammate with him for over 10 years. Like, and that's what, and the selfish reasons, I don't get to have that anymore. I got 3 great years with him, right?
Mhm.
And I'm so happy. But I mean, the guy is just,
He's a character.
he's a character, but he's the light of the world, though. I mean,
100%.
he's the brightest light in the room, and he is just,
What you
he's
see is
always
what you get.
laughing.
He's genuine in that.
He's so genuine, and you don't. And what I think is just lights my heart on fire is you don't get that with many people.
No, you do not.
No, you get a two-sided. Most of the time, most people, you get 2, 3-sided people, and you get to, he just messaged.
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, he just messaged me too. But I'm so grateful, and I hope he makes it in the Paintball Hall of Fame because he deserves it. So much
for sure.
Go ahead.
For sure. Look at the longevity and the amount of wins he's had, and the fact that he was the building block from the beginning of this team. It'd be crazy not to,
No, and then what I wish people knew is how much he did behind the curtain. So much selfless things he was doing for Houston Heat, for paintball. Like, he was just behind the curtain working all the time, grinding, trying to make it better. And that, I think, was, I want to give him that shout out because there was a lot of behind the scenes that people never saw what he did on top of everything else that people saw him do. And my word, like, the band loves it.
Oh, 100%.
And dude, he's a blessing. He's a blessing. That's how I chalk it up.
Well, and I'm glad like I said, I'm just pumped that he's still in it. I still get to see him. He's still spreading the light in paintball, so.
I know. And it's like when I saw him walk up to the pits, oh, my heart was on fire. I was just like, he's still here. He's still part of us. He will always forever. I think he will always forever be a part of us. And so, I'm really pumped. Do you want to chime in on anything, that we got to go over or anything that we missed about? Yeah.
Not in particular. I think we'll definitely have him back on and tell more stories, So, he's just a good conversationalist. So he'll be back on. I don't think I need to say anything else right now. I just really happy that he was part of these first 3 episodes, and I hope that everyone who listens enjoys it, and let us know what we can do different and different guests that you guys would like to see too, because we're just learning here.
Yeah, we are. First things first, first things first, Ryan, where can they find you at? Where can they find you to follow you?
I'm pretty much just on Instagram, and it's at
Okay.
Moorhead85.
At Moorhead85.
Yep.
Awesome. And so go follow Ryan. Go check him out.
Follow the Rowdy ones, the Rowdy_ones on Instagram. And, we'll be available on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. So wherever you're watching us now is probably where you prefer to.
Yep. And don't forget about our Discord, the Rowdy ones. We're not doing a Patreon or anything. We just want to give back to our fans. Like kind of Yaya said and Ryan said earlier, for so long we've kind of not had a place for our fans, and now we're getting this set up for y'all. So please join. If we do ever go Patreon kind of deal in the future, if you will be grandfathered in. So the sooner you join, the sooner you will get to interact with all of us. We are also going to be very active in there. If you have any questions, there's paintball live, there's general forums, podcast, so you can ask questions, say, hey, y'all want to talk about this. You can help structure our podcast, and we are going to be super excited to have anyone that wants
to be fairly unstructured, because we like just a conversationalist attitude. But yeah, we can definitely lead things in certain directions.
Right. That's what I meant, just as in structure. But this podcast, we don't have an agenda. We don't pre-ask questions. We don't pre-set anything up. It's all natural flowing conversations. And that's what we think is most genuine out of podcast, and giving you a great look into the Heat life. We are going to be based. We wanted to start this podcast to give a platform for the whole team, but also have our own spin, so we can, it's more personal. It's not all paintball.
Yeah, we can have the chats we want to have with the people we want to have it with. Sometimes it's going to be paintball. A lot of times it's going to be Heat, and other times it's going to be other things or people we're interested in.
That's right. They can tell. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it's going to be I think it's going to be a great foundation. It's just going to be a well mix of everything. And so anyone that, wants to be involved, make sure to follow us on our social media, the Rowdy_ones. YouTube will be the Rowdy ones. Spotify is the Rowdy ones. Apple, we haven't set up yet because we want to be we're doing that after this episode, but on that, it'll be the Rowdy ones in some sense. We'll make sure to tag the link in our Instagram, because the whole structure of how iTunes, Apple Music works is,
and we'll have all the links on the YouTube one as well.
Yeah, and we'll have we'll have all that set up. So anyways, thank y'all so much for chiming in. I don't want to keep any time. Ryan, you got any last thing? Oh, Dad, hold on. We're going to keep doing this, man. I like it, though. Dad wisdom. It doesn't have to be necessarily about being a dad, but just wisdom you have because you're a dad. What is some dad wisdom? Drop knowledge.
Appreciate the need and the benefit of patience.
Amen to that. That's deep.
And learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and don't let things bother you as much.
I love it. So sweet. So we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thank y'all so much. Love all y'all. Thank you for anyone who's chimed in and showing support.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Love you.
Catch you on the next one. Love y'all.